Most freight brokers are honest. Yeah, okay. Today I'm gonna share with you 3 real stories that were sent to me by different carriers. Different companies, different situations, but one thing in common. In all 3 stories, there were unlawful deductions. So make sure you stay till the end of this video because I'm gonna share with you the story of how one of these carriers got their money back from the freight broker. Not by hiring a lawyer, not by going after the shipper and receiver. And he did it all without stepping into a courtroom, and he actually gave me the right to share it with all of you guys out there. So let's get into story number 1. The load was delivered. The paperwork was submitted. 30 days later, the broker suddenly discovers a problem that never existed. Imagine hauling a load. Everything goes exactly as planned. You pick up the load, you deliver the load, your paperwork is clean, you submit your invoice. Now, after 25 to 30 days, you're just waiting to get paid. Then suddenly, the freight broker emails you saying that there's a problem. It could be your insurance, it could be your W-9, maybe it's your carrier packet, maybe they need another document. Now, I'm not saying that this broker did this intentionally, but sometimes it's simply poor organization. But either way, the result is the same. The carrier waits to get paid. If there really was a compliance issue, shouldn't it have been addressed at the beginning before the carrier took the load? Now wait until you hear story number 2. So the carrier drives to a destination. Now somewhere along the route, now imagine it was New Jersey to California, somewhere along the route, the carrier loses his reception. Now when he gets back into reception, he notices 2 missed calls. He immediately calls back, gives an update to the freight broker on where he is, how the load is doing, everything gets delivered successfully, PODs are clean. Now the driver delivers the load, the receiver received the load, paperwork is clean, the carrier submits his invoice to the freight broker, and now 30 days later the settlement comes back with a $500 deduction. The reason? Failure to answer the broker's phone call. Think about that for a second. The driver wasn't ignoring anyone. He wasn't sleeping, he wasn't refusing to communicate, he simply lost reception while driving. Whether you agree with the deduction or not, what else is the carrier supposed to do when a freight broker is withholding to pay his settlement or the settlement comes in short, just like in this case over here? Now, the problem with why the freight brokers are able to get away with this is because when they send you that 300-page agreement, somewhere in page 185, it says that if you don't pick up the phone whenever they want an update, they're able to deduct the money from you. Now, if you think that's bad, wait until you hear the next story. It gets even worse. Now, here's story number 3. Imagine doing everything right. Imagine paying out of your own pocket to save the load, only to discover that the freight broker made a deduction of $2,600 from a settlement. And that's story number 3. This is the craziest story that I've heard in a while. So the carrier reached out to me after this story happened to him. He took a produce load from a freight broker. It was worth $8,000. Before the load even left the shipper, there was an issue. He noticed that there was a problem, that the count was short. He asked the broker in writing if he'd still be paid for the full agreed rate. The broker replied in an email, yes, everything looked good. After, somewhere in the middle, his truck broke down. He reached out to the freight broker, told the freight broker, hey, my truck is broken down, sent over pictures, sent over images, sent over the repair receipt, and updated the freight broker every single day that his truck was down. The original carrier calls the broker and says, hey, am I gonna be penalized for this freight being late? The broker said yes, but nothing crazy. Now, during a different phone call, I guess with the pressure, he felt like, okay, we need to deliver this produce load on time. So what he did was, out of his own pocket, he decided to hire another carrier that would take his trailer and deliver it to the receiver. The loads get delivered, the clean PODs, customer accepts the refrigerated product, the broker approves the billing, settlement day arrives, and more than $2,600 was missing. The explanation was late fee. Now, for 7 weeks, he asked for an explanation, nothing. The factoring company asked for an explanation, nothing. At that point, he stopped arguing. He started documenting. He gathered every email, every text message, every rate confirmation, every contract, okay? Now, here's what he did do right. He requested the broker's transaction record. He escalated the issue to the right departments. Eventually, someone higher up reviewed his file. The brokerage company admitted that the deduction was not consistent with their own internal policies. They admitted the carrier had been overcharged, and they refunded approximately $2,000 because they were only allowed to deduct $250 as per their own terms and conditions. So no lawyers, no lawsuits, no courtrooms, no yelling, just documentation, facts, and persistence. And that's how he got his money back. All right, so running my own fleet, I can honestly say that deductions are happening, and some freight brokers will find and try to deduct anything from you. Whether you didn't pick up the phone, whether you didn't submit your PODs on time, your ELDs were not working. I mean, these things did not exist 10 or 15 years ago. But what I can tell you is that in most of the cases, documentation wins. Text messages wins. Our calls in our office are all recorded, but one thing that you should get into is recapping your conversations with freight brokers and sending them the email right after. Now, the reason why I shared these stories was because the carrier number 3, they actually gave me the email and his solution. He was able to put together a 4-page step-by-step guide that I read in detail, and my jaw dropped. It was so organized, well put together, and I said, you know what? I have to share this with the audience. And it's for you, anybody that's running into the same issues with unlawful deductions. It's free for you guys out there. All you have to do in order to get this guide is comment the word deduction, and I'll send it over to you. Hopefully you're never gonna need this guide, but if you ever find yourself fighting for that unlawful deduction that somebody took away from you that they shouldn't have, use the guide. I've read it and I'm actually going to use it myself. To hopefully learn something from this video, I'm Ronan, and if you have a crazy story of how a freight broker deducted money from you unlawfully, please send it over and let me share it with the audience, as long as we can all learn something from it. I'm Ronan, and I'll catch you in my next video.